New tutorial, I'm gonna show you how to create a virtual reality interaction using the native virtual reality elements of Unity. Since the version 5.6, Unity now has support for, in a single project, you make the deploy for Cardboard, for the Daydream, the Gear VR, the Oculus. So I'm going to teach you how to create a virtual reality interaction with the native VR support without the need of any other library in Unity. So to start, I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to disable the Unity Analytics. I'm going to call it Native VR. So here it goes. Alright, so the first thing we need to do, as I'm going to deploy for Gear VR and Cardboard and Daydream, we need to go in the build settings, change it to Android. Alright. And we go to the player settings, and here in the player settings we have the virtual reality supported, so we need to check this. And if you want to build for Cardboard, you select Cardboard, or if you want to build for, I don't know, the Gear VR, you select Oculus, and the same for Daydream. So the source code is the same, the project is the same. The only thing you need to change if you want to deploy it for Gear VR, for Daydream, for Cardboard is this setting. So now I'm going to deploy to Cardboard. And okay, now we need to, if you wanted to interact in the your interface using the virtual reality settings, Unity has, in the Unity VR samples, they have some elements. If you go to Google, sorry, it's not OVR, OSVR. See, is the first option. You just have to open it. And here we go. What we're interested in is in the assets. They have the VR standard assets. So what I want to do now is, actually, I don't know why, but this guy over here, he doesn't have the reticle we need in the VR standard assets. It should be here. But this other link, he has the assets. He has in his scripts folder. He has our... Oh, it's because this one is on the VR sample scenes. So in the sample scenes, we're gonna need this reticle object. But we also gonna need in the VR standard assets the VREyeRaycaster, the VRInput, and the VRInteractiveItem. So with this guy over here, the GitHub OS VR samples tree master assets, you have the VR sample scenes and the VR standard assets. The reticle is in the sample scenes. So let's create a folder here called, I don't know, VR standard assets. Standard assets. Oops. And I'm gonna get all those scripts. I'm gonna start with the reticle, which is in the sample scenes. All you need to do is to right click over here and get it raw. Click on the raw button. And you have to select all, Ctrl C, and now we need a script called Reticle here. So I'm going to create a new C# script called Reticle. I'm going to open it. Okay, there it is. And now we don't need this guy. Ctrl A, Ctrl V, you paste all the content of the reticle in this guy. So we have our first script, the reticle. Now, we also need the reticle is the only script of the VR sample scenes we need. Now we need the VREyeRaycaster on the standard assets. So you do the same thing. I'm going to just copy here its name. I'm gonna create a new script and I'm gonna name it VREyeRaycaster. Open it, and now we need to copy the content of this guy here. Right. Now we also need the VRInput, so we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna create a script called VRInput. And add the content of this guy over here in my VRInput. Alright. And the last one we need is the VRInteractiveItem. So I'm going to create the VRInteractiveItem. There it goes. Right, now we are ready to go. We have all the necessary scripts to create interactive objects. But what we need to do is to update our camera. Right now we have like the camera, we need to add the VREyeRaycaster. And you can see he has a camera. So what we do is like to drag this camera over here. Cool. And he asks for the VRInput and the reticle. We can put the VRInput here in the camera and add it to here. And the reticle is important to understand that the reticle is an image and it has to be a child of your main camera. So I'm going to create a canvas object here. And he has to be world space, and I'm gonna reset it. Like he's too big, his size is too big, and we also need a image for him. So I'm gonna get an image, and I want this image to extend to the same size of the canvas. So I'm using Mac, so I'm gonna hold Alt and press here. I think it's Alt also in Windows, and you need to select this option. Cool. And now it will fit the size of the canvas. Now we also need a reticle, something to an image. So I'm going to create here another folder called texture. And I don't know, I'm going to Google AIM. You can Google pretty much any image you want. So I'm going to search for an image for being my reticle. This one is good. And it's better if it has no background. Like this one has no background. So it's perfect. I'm going to save it. Like AIM in my desktop. And I'm going to drag it to Unity. It's saved on my desktop. And here it goes. Alright. And now we need to change its type to Sprite, 2D, and UI. And now we apply. Cool. Now you see it has no background. Okay, now this image needs to reference our AIM. There it goes, but she's too big. I think like, I don't know, 0.1 is enough for something like a AIM, or a reticle in our case. Let me see. The camera. Alright, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add in the camera, they have like this reticle. So actually I need a reticle script too. I'm gonna add the reticle script to the canvas. Alright, and its image is right here. The reticle transform is the image 2, and the camera is this guy over here. So the script's in the canvas. I'm not sure if it will be any problem if you put it on the image, but I'm just going to put it in the canvas. And the image and reticle transform are all from the object image. The camera is from the camera, right? So in my main camera, I'm going to reference the reticle, which is my canvas object. So let me see what I got, if it works, if it's not okay. Alright, it seems to be working. The reticle is not okay. She has like, I don't know, she's too bad quality, the image. But that's alright, I guess. It's some image, random image I got from the internet. I think it won't be a problem for now. So what I want to do is like to create objects which it can interact with. So I'm going to create a simple cube, and I'm going to drag it to, I don't know, maybe here. There it goes. I'm going to add some rotation to him. And I'm going to add also a sphere. And I'm going to put it in the same position as the cube, just to be able to see it. Actually, she's inside the cube, which is crazy, but if you move here a little bit, there it goes, we have our sphere. And it's important that for this tutorial to understand that the objects, they require a collider to be able to interact. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a script. Actually, I'm going to create a folder called scripts. And we have the interactive VRInteractiveItem, but it works with action. What I like to work with Unity events. They are more simpler and you can handle them from the editor. So I'm going to create a wrapper inside the VR item. It'll be something like, I don't know, VR item event handler, something like it. I don't know, you can give it any name you want. But what I want to do is to have events when you look inside the object and outside the object. So first thing, the way the VREyeRaycaster works, when you look at an object, it tries to get the VRInteractiveItem script of that object. So all of our interactive objects, they must have a VRInteractiveItem. But the VRInteractiveItem, it works with actions. And as I say, I want to work with Unity events. So the first thing we need is we need to require this guy to have a component of the type. Actually, we need first of all, we need to include the VR standard assets Oculus package so we can reference our VR interactive item. So what we are saying here is okay, for this script to work, the object in which this script is attached needs to have a VR interactive item. So we'll reference this VR interactive item as, I don't know, interactive item. And as you can see, the VR interactive item, it has some events. The ones we are interested in right now is the over and the out, which they are the events which are triggered when the user looks at the object and when he looks outside the object, when he was looking inside the object and he suddenly looks for outside. So first thing, I'm gonna get a reference to the interactive item. get component interactive item, all right? And I'm gonna create a object to, actually it's a delegate to be called. The way actions work, they have like these guys who expect functions to be called when these events happen. So in my case, I will have like the function, I don't know, onGazeEnter, and the function, onGazeExit. So what we need to do now is like to tell this guy, okay, every time the guy looks at the object, I want you to call this function, and every time he looks outside, I want you to call this function. And the way we do this is like this: interactive item dot on over, which is for when the user looks inside it. We add our method inside of him, so he will call our method. And the same thing for the action on out, but this time we'll add our method onGazeExit. Okay, I prefer using Unity events because I'm going to show you why. First, we need to import Unity engine.events. So now I'll create a public event, public Unity event. I don't know, GazeEnter event, and another public Unity event, GazeExit event. So every time the user looks at it, the only thing this method is gonna do is to call the GazeEnter event invoke, and the same this guy over here. Oops, actually this is the GazeEnter, and this is the GazeExit. Invoke. Okay, so now every time the user looks at it, we'll have the Unity event on GazeEnter, and when he looks outside, the exit. So it means that whenever we add this script, the VRItem event handler, we can create the events right here. You just need to add selected object and choose the events you want to call. That's the beauty of the thing. You can make like an entire complex scene responding to events, just dragging and dropping them instead of hard code them using the action. And what I want to do here is like, I want these objects to glow when I look at them. I look at this guy and he glows to show me like, hey, you're looking at me, I can interact with you. So first thing we need a glowing shader. We need actually a glow material, a material who makes our object glow. So what I'm gonna do here is, so I have found this shader. I needed a glow shader, and I have found this guy over here in the Stack Overflow who created a glow shader. So I'm gonna put this link on the description. You just need to copy and paste. I don't know how the shader works. So I just copy and pasted it. I'm gonna do it right now. And here it goes. So we're gonna create a new shader here. We're gonna create a folder called shaders. And we're gonna create this new shader. We're gonna call it glow shader. And I'm gonna open it. So we don't need like all of this. You can select it all. Oops, delete it and paste the one on the Stack Overflow and save it. So now we need to create a material. I have created a folder called materials. So we need to create a glow material. And this glow material, we'll use our glow shader, and this is the material color. We just need to change this guy over here. I want it to, I don't know, to be green, some sort of green, intense green, really intense green. Yeah, there you go. That's what I want for this glow shader. And now we need to create a behavior for our objects, which is like, I don't know, glow behavior. What I'm going to do is like I want those objects to highlight with the shader and to undo the highlight. They will have only these two methods. So we need a reference. We need a reference to the render object of this guy. So I'm going to create a renderer, my renderer, and we also need a object, a material called highlight material. And we also need a reference to this normal material, which will be like. So when it starts, we need to get the handler of this object. There it goes, and its material, the default material. There it goes. And now he needs only two methods. The first one, highlight, which is going to, oops, it's a void. What we're going to do is like, okay, the handler is the guy used to draw the object. And he uses some material to draw the object. And we need to call him, okay, now you need to use, oops, sorry. Actually, I need my render. Yeah, we need to set, okay, the material you're gonna use to draw this object is the highlight material. And now we're gonna need a method called normal rendering, which it's exactly like, okay, now you're gonna render this object with the normal material. No highlighting, stop highlighting. And the good thing about using events is that I can come to this cube, add the glow behavior, and now what I need to do is tell him, okay, every time the user looks at you, you're gonna use, sorry, we also need to add the material, the highlight material here. Yeah, there you go, ready. So now we can say every time the user looks at you, you use the method of the glow behavior, the method highlight. You can put any method you want here. So here we go. And when you exit, you use the method normal rendering. Just using the events. And the same thing on the sphere. You add the glow behavior with the highlight material. Actually, I forgot to add the interactive, oops, VR, yeah, event handler. And we do the same thing in this guy. So we can easily create dynamic scenes just using the editor when we have the events instead of the actions. That's why I prefer using them. So here we go, highlight, and here we do the normal rendering. There it goes. Now we can run. I have to save the scene. I don't know, main scene, that's enough. There it goes. Okay, now I'm gonna look at those guys. There it goes. We have the highlight. Actually, I don't know why he has this behavior of like getting inside the object. It shouldn't be doing this. Let me see. Sorry guys, I forgot to mention. As stated in the Unity VR tutorial, we need to add another shader for our reticle so it gets drawn over everything. Is this guy UIOverlay Shader? I'm gonna add the link on the description, he's right here. So I'm gonna create another shader called UIOverlay. Shader UIOverlay. And we need to do the same thing, just paste the content of this guy here. on this guy over here. And we need to create a material for this guy. I'm gonna call it Reticle material. Reticle material. And he's gonna use our UIOverlay Shader. You don't need to change anything, but we need to go in our image and to make it use this material. So here we go. Alright, let's see if it works now. Yeah, now he's being drawn on top of everything. And we have like the highlight effect. So it pretty much works now in any device you want to deploy, Daydream, Gear VR, Cardboard, and it's way better to use the native solution than those tons of libraries, just like the GVR library, the OVR library. It's way more simple. So hope you guys have enjoyed, and see you later. Please feel free to leave any question in the comments, or if you want some other tutorial, please tell me. Cheers, guys!